We're working on a holiday. Wah, wah. That's the bad news. The good news is that our work is play. And since most of you aren't working today, you got time to hunker down and hang with us. Lots to talk about, lots to clean up over a busy weekend on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Like the rest of America, we are celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on this January the 20th, 2025. We welcome you into the DLLS Rangers podcast. We've got a special tribute to Dr. King coming up later in the show, one that's got some huge and wonderful Major League Baseball ties. But we start at the beginning, which is telling you who the heck we are. John Radigan Rads with J-Dub. That's Jeff Wilson. We got the prophet over here, and he is working hard on this MLK Day as the rest of us are. But like I say, man, we're glad to be here because what we do is fun, and we want to share our thoughts. And a busy weekend of activity with you. And as it was the prophet who came up with the line, we're about to get Bochy with it. So here we are getting Bochy. We saw Bruce Bochy for the first time, I guess, since the winter meetings, Jeff. And yeah. It was great to see him. He's always just a joy to talk to, and you laugh and you chuckle with him in every interview. I mean, I suppose there have been a few after some post-game losses, but I swear, every time we interview the guy, most of us, all of us, we're all laughing at some point.
Yeah, he doesn't take things too seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, he could. He's won 4 World Series and over 2,000 games, and he's 69 going on 70, and but he still makes time for even the local beat guys and media, and has a good time talking to us. So he knows everybody. He can tell you a story about it and about anyone. He told stories about Ricky Henderson and Bob Uecker over the weekend, and it's just either people are drawn to him because he is just a friendly guy, kind of an outgoing guy, or just the longevity of the game, whatever it is, though. The guy's a pleasure to work with for sure.
No doubt about it. And of course, that 69 going on 70 was one of the reasons that the topic was broached this weekend. And that is, of course, this is the last year of Bochy's contract. So, will he be back next year? He was asked that question multiple different times and ways. Chris Young was asked that question, and Chris Young, the bottom line from Chris Young was, oh, yeah, he'll be back if he wants to, right?
Yeah.
It's totally up to him. And I love to see why he said, and if he decides he doesn't want to be back, I'm going to get him an office right next door to mine so that we can sit there and talk baseball and he can make me laugh every day, essentially what we were just talking about.
Yeah, it is interesting. 70 arrives in April, and I know I make fun of it a lot, but with his walk.
Yeah.
His gait is not exactly inspire confidence, but he says he feels better than he did when he retired in 2019 because his body needed some attention. He's got artificial knee, I think, and maybe a hip or maybe both knees. I don't know, but he doesn't move great, but he feels great, and the mind is already working. He said on Friday night at the awards banquet, I'm already thinking about lineups and how we're going to work the bullpen and things like that. So, he's fired up. A guy who doesn't want to be here wouldn't be thinking that way. No, we'll see what happens after 162 games. But my thought is he comes back. And maybe something gets announced in spring training about it. But I think Bruce Bochy, he retired because he had to, and then he retired and decided, I don't want to. And now that he's back, it's one of those every other year things that everybody talks about. It's time for him to win another World Series, but I just think he likes it.
Yeah, I do too, and I like the way, he had almost a disdainful approach to his comment. I tried that retirement thing. It's hard when you've done what he's done day in and day out, and the grind in baseball is unbelievable. So to go we talk about going from 0 to 60. In this case, you're going from 60 to 0 like that. And it's really hard to adjust to that and to get used to that. And so, and Boch didn't. I mean, he did do that, and he didn't like it. So I agree with you. I think we're going to find out probably before the season is over that he's coming back. But we know, if he does follow the pattern. Abby asked him a question about following the pattern over the weekend, and that brought a big smile and a chuckle from him as well. But if he does follow the pattern, he ain't leaving after winning a World Series.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, I mean, you could go out on top. Okay, there's always that thinking, but I mean, it's fun. And nothing's better than that. And but I think that he likes, the chess match every day with the other manager and trying to figure out why his pawns and nooks and rooks and all that stuff aren't working out so good. And like last year, I mean, they had some late nights trying to figure things out. The coaching staff was working a lot with guys, and it just didn't work. And he definitely doesn't want to go out on a note like that, I don't think.
No, gosh, no.
Yeah, it just seems like, hey, I'm Bruce Bochy. Yeah, I like my job. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, and you can. I mean, that's the nice thing about this world of baseball. Physically and emotionally, if you are prepared for that grind, you can keep doing it. Managers have managed certainly well into their 70s. I don't know if anybody's gone into their 80s.
Jack McKeon was 80.
Was he 80?
When he managed the Marlins the last time. Bruce is going to be 70. He's not the oldest manager in baseball.
Right.
Ron Washington is.
Yeah.
And Terry Francona has come back for, I don't know, the third
or fourth time.
He's a mere 65. So, it is, these managers are getting younger. Will Venable's 41, 42. Sure. You can look across the dugouts and you don't see as much gray hair as you used to, but Bruce Bochy is going to go in the Hall of Fame. It's just it's just a matter of when he needs to retire first.
Yeah,
and he doesn't seem to care for either right now.
Yeah, I love last thing about Boch for now, and we do want to hear from you during the course of the program. Please chat with us. Let us know what you're thinking. We've got lots to talk about over a busy weekend. Boch's story about when he was asked, about the great Bob Uecker. Do you have any? And I figured Boch would have, a funny. Yeah. And he goes, man, I don't have any funny stories. But he did tell one. He said, Ueck and I got to know each other 1 year in spring training. They were both at the same complex and played a lot of golf together, and we're at the driving range together a lot. And anyway, he found out that Bob is a huge fisherman. And Bob said, when you're up in Milwaukee, let's go salmon fishing. I'm going to take you salmon fishing. And Bruce said, one of my regrets is that we never did that. There were a couple of times they got rained out or something.
Right.
But he never did that. And he said, and we agreed, can you imagine how much fun spending a day fishing with Bob Uecker would be?
Right. And he did have he managed Ricky Henderson in San Diego, so he knew Ricky real well. And it's pretty amazing, all these people that you brush up against and all the names that he's passing on these managerial lists and things like that. I mean, he managed Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
He managed Tony Gwynn.
Yep.
These great players of my era for sure. And Bruce Bochy not only knew him, he was their boss.
Yeah. Yeah. And their friend. And we'll do it another time. His memories, his stories of Tony Gwynn are fantastic, but we'll talk about that another time because next we want to talk about another guy we hadn't seen really, I think, since September was Jacob deGrom. And of course, when you ask Chris Young, what are you most excited about? He was asked this Friday night at the Rangers banquet, the winter banquet, what are you most excited about? And he admitted, I haven't really thought about it, but what I'm most excited about, he said, is seeing Jacob deGrom. and have a full,
yeah.
healthy Jacob deGrom. So then we got to chat with deGrom on Saturday, and he is fully healthy. He's already been on a mound, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see him too, and because over there in that other league he didn't exist, but yeah, he's been on the mound once, which is earlier than he normally would. It's kind of the start sooner, but pace yourself, I guess, idea. He's probably, I mean, we talked to him Saturday. He said he'd be on in a couple of days, so he's probably throwing one today or tomorrow. And the important thing he said was that he's not thinking about anything else. The only thing he's thinking about is hitting the glove, and he does that better than anybody out there. So if that's where he's at, as long as he stays healthy, which he hasn't done for a while, as long as he's healthy, or when he is healthy, he's going to be fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to it. He was in a great mood. He needs a haircut, but other than that, he's raring to go, and it's going to be exciting. I mean, I remember going into the 23 season, and everybody was excited to see him. He started opening day against a team that knew him really well and hit him pretty good. But then his next, however many starts it was, I think it was only 5 more starts. He was unbelievable. He struck out 11 against the Orioles. Just made him look foolish, and that's who he is. He's that good, and it's not like 11 strikeouts and 5 walks. It's 11 strikeouts and no walks, or 1 walk, and only a couple hits. It's just dominant stuff. And now he's probably going to be on a innings count or whatever. They're going to have to watch him because they do plan to make the playoffs, and they want to have their best guy there. So it'll be interesting how it all works out, but I just want to see it.
Yeah. And by the way, from his lips to God's ears, let's hope he wants to start 30 games. He wants 30 starts this year. Again, if they're going to limit the innings, that may be where that has to happen, right? If again, that's the old roll of the dice. Do you pull him after 5 every game? So, even 150 seems like a stretch, but let's just say he started 30 times, probably not getting him out after 5 innings in most games.
Well, the thing is he's incredibly efficient.
True.
So, he could get through 5 innings and 50 pitches. Well, you got to build it up a little more than that.
True.
But it's not just the pitch count, of course. Nowadays they're concerned about the ups, meaning how many times did he rest between innings, and I understand that too, but at some point you kind of got to, this is a guy who's done it before. He's done 200 innings. It's been a long time, so he knows how to do it. But yeah, I think somewhere in the 150 to 180 might seem a little extreme.
Yeah.
But, I would say somewhere in that ballpark would be, if he hits it, the Rangers are going to be in really good shape. They're
going to be great. Yeah, and if he gets to that 30 start mark, that's amazing. We're going to show an interview we did past weekend with Pudge Rodriguez, and I asked Pudge about that, and he said, I want him to have 32 starts. This is before we heard from Jacob, and I was thinking at the time, I'm like, well, Pudge, that era is gone,
Right.
But that's still what deGrom is thinking too, is in that neighborhood anyway.
Yeah, he's I guess he is older because he's 35.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I don't know that he's old school, but there's still the thinking, and we don't have to go back very long. We've said it a couple times. Colby Lewis was pissed if he didn't make it 7 innings.
Sure. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And in game 6 of the 2010 ALCS, the clincher against the Yankees, Colby thought he was going back out for the 9th.
Yeah.
It was 6-1 or whatever the score was, and he was convinced. He's like, no, this is my game. That was their mentality. I just don't know that anybody, I think Eovaldi does that.
Yeah.
In 23, he had the back-to-back complete games against the A's and the Pirates.
Yep.
But from then on, it just that field morphs pretty quickly. And one of those Seattle starters said something about it this year, like, he was okay with it not going past 6 innings, and he caught some hell for that.
Yeah, and should. I mean, you should want to go. You should want it to be your game. So we've got more stuff to talk about regarding what happened over the weekend. We'll get to some of that next. We also want to talk about the closer market, which appears to have been set higher than maybe the Rangers are comfortable with. What will they do regarding that. It's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Jeff, you got the floors to talk about, and you can look right at it.
I absolutely love floors, as we all know. So does Ben. I don't see Ben in the chat today. Maybe he's enjoying his holiday. But Empire Today, our friends at Empire Today, empiretoday.com/DLLS, you'll get $350 off new flooring, whether it's hardwoods or carpeting. Nobody does it better. They've been around so long. Everybody who's been in this area knows Empire Today. And, they did our floors. You can kind of see them toward the back wall there. Just great stuff. And we've tried our best to damage them, and we just haven't done it. Shop at home convenience. That's the big deal with Empire Today. They have an app where you can take a look, hold up your phone, and see what the flooring's going to look like in the room you want to get done. And we Wilsons have about 3 or 4 rooms we need to get redone, and we're going to call Empire Today. So schedule a free in-home estimate today with Empire Today. And again, empiretoday.com/DLLS for $350 off.
So you know how with most sunglasses, like when you've been wearing them, let me put them against the white so you can see them better. When you've been wearing sunglasses for a while, you do this and the arms go completely down. You can barely make the arms move on this. I've had them since, September we got these?
Yeah.
Probably September. These are unbelievable quality, and I love the look of them. Shady Rays. You can see another design down there. They got a million designs, and I encourage you to go to shadyrays.com and get them, not only because they're cool looking, but because, like I said, they're durable. These spent 2 weeks between my seat and the, like where the little armrest is, and I thought they were lost. People are moving the seat back and forth. You still didn't scratch them. They're still in great shape. So I love Shady Rays. I think you should get yourself a pair of Shady Rays, especially as we get to the sunny springtime season. It's nigh upon us after this little 3-day winter that we're about to have, what we're in the middle of. Anyway, shadyrays.com. Get yourself 35% off Shady Rays. So it's, what is it? I walked in today. I don't like wearing an overcoat.
Yeah.
Because I get hot in the car, and so then I usually just walk from my car to the store, or my car to the house, or my car, right? It's a little longer walk today. I was cold today with no overcoat from here to the car, here to the parking garage over
I don't
there.
like being cold, so I will wear a coat.
Yeah.
I'll wear, if it's cold enough, I'll put leggings on underneath my pants. I really hate it.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you hated Colorado, didn't you?
Well, I didn't move back.
Good point.
I'll tell you something.
Good point. One thing we wanted to get to before we talk closer, I loved what happened Friday night, Jeff. Heartwarming moment when Jake Berger and his wife sort of met with the media, and he selected his number, which is 21, and that's an absolute tribute, and he's paying tribute to his baby daughter who has Down syndrome. And in the cases of Down syndrome, it's the 21st chromosome that is repeated.
Yep.
And so he did that as a way of paying tribute to her and bringing awareness to Down syndrome. He and his wife are planning to start a Down syndrome foundation. It'll be a foundation probably in his name, but perhaps in his daughter's name. In any event, I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah, this is a guy this is his first time meeting with the media, meeting with the fans since the trade. We had a Zoom call with him, and but he had a physical. He didn't have to have a physical because he wasn't a free agent. So this might have been his first time. It was his first time at the ballpark, I think, and he was blown away by that. But he has a 2-year-old son named Brooks, and then Penelope, who was just born in October with Down syndrome, and she was there, and she's just a baby, and now those with Down syndrome often have other complications, and Penelope needs to have open heart surgery. She's going to do that in March, so Jacob will be away from the team for a little while. But what a great way to kind of plant roots here with the team that you're probably going to be on for a while, and but also, so he'll take care of people back where he lives in Nashville and also here. I think he's going to have a home here too, because Penelope Down syndrome can get better care at one of the Dallas hospitals that specializes in it. So, but yeah, really cool. And then on top of it, he just seems like in addition to being a good guy, he has a good vibe about him, kind of laid back and quiet. He's a big guy, I wouldn't call him heavy. He just looks like he's put together, kind of like a linebacker playing first base. And so it's you can't think of a better way for him to start off his Rangers tenure and to endear himself to the community than to do something like that.
Yeah, look at that beautiful picture. There's the family, Penelope in her mama's arms, and there's Brooks too with Jake, and it's just great because they are so in tune. They knew during most of her pregnancy, I think, that this was the outcome of the pregnancy. And here's the amazing thing: Jeff mentioned that Penelope's going to have open heart surgery. Jake was thankful that she didn't have to have it right out of the womb. Which
Correct.
again, I just had this baby granddaughter of mine. And I'm telling you, the baby's chest isn't much bigger than how could you do open heart surgery? And so I know it's still not large, but you have a little more room to work with, I think, doing it, several months into her life as she's grown. I just, those doctors really do some amazing things.
Yeah. Pediatricians and people in the NICU unit and doctors who work, surgeons who work with children are doing the Lord's work. They really are. They're angels from above. And it's these are, you put so much time and money and investment and thought and love into a child, and then for it to be born with a heart defect or whatever, anything that causes an emergency right out of the womb, you just your heart falls through the floor.
Big
and
time.
And it happens though all the time. There are babies who are born premature, babies like Penelope with Down syndrome, and Richard Dirt's daughter Margot, who was born after he passed away, she had some complications right in her first week of life and had to have surgery. So I mean, it's scary stuff, and it's something that brings so much joy, and then all of a sudden it just stops.
Yes.
And you're overcome
It's
with panic, and
panic. Yep, that's the word.
Yeah, those people do great things. Jake Berger is going to be doing great things, and so is Penelope.
Yes,
Penelope's going to be a great kid.
Yep, no doubt. And the last thing about Jake I loved was it you. Somebody asked Boch about the golf round. It was Jake and it was Boch, obviously, and it was Corey, right? Seager.
Yeah.
And he says, so somebody asked who's longer off the tee, and Boch kind of said, well, it depends which direction you're talking the ball, man. He said Jake doesn't play that often. He said he can hit a long way, but he can hit a long way out of bounds too.
Yeah. And they all live in Nashville, so they just got together and hit the ball around one day.
Awesome. It's really cool. All right, this closer market thing is getting scary. So Friday we got the news that Jose Leclerc has signed a 1-year deal with the Athletics. And by the way, how pissed off are the people in Oakland that now you're spending money? Now you're spending money. We might have been able to keep you here if you'd spent a little money then, but it is what it is, right? Settle down, Oakland. And, that was complicated. That said, and I'm happy for Leclerc. He got $10 million for the year.
Yeah, I think it's a little high.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah. Sean McFarland with the Morning News, he said that there's a Sacramento tax. He thinks that the A's are having to overpay some of these guys to get them to come to Sacramento and play in a minor league ballpark for 2 years. And he might be right. But happy for Jose. He's so good, but it ends a run of 14 years in the organization.
Yeah.
He was so great for the Rangers in 2023 in the playoffs. He'll never be forgotten. That's for sure. But yeah, it is kind of, it's like $10 million for him. And then an AJ Minter, left-hander, who's like career high in saves is 10.
11
he got
a year.
11 million. Now he's going to be a setup guy for the Mets because Edwin Diaz isn't getting replaced. But the big one.
Yeah, then it got blown out of the water. Was it yesterday that Tanner Scott signed?
Tanner Scott and the Dodgers, 4 years and $72 million. That seems a little high too. But now, if you're the Dodgers, you can't leave any stone unturned at this point. You've signed everybody. You got Sasaki, all that stuff. You can't have any holes on your team. There are no excuses at this point. So they shored up their bullpen. They're gonna have Blake Trinan, who they signed earlier. They re-signed him early in the offseason. And then they'll have Tanner Scott about to kick some butt. So yeah, but what does that do for the price of other guys? Now, does it come out looking like an overpay? Maybe it does. I don't know. But if I'm Carlos Estevez and Kirby Yates and Kenley Jansen, I'm pretty happy right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But it is the scary part. I mean, I think, the Rangers is sitting there hoping, no doubt, I have to think, hoping that the market would be set a little bit lower to where, they're flirting right up against the threshold of crossing the CBT, which is the luxury tax threshold, right? And so if the market's a little lower, maybe they've got the money to sign a Kirby Yates back. But when it's this high, at this juncture anyway, Jeff, it's likely that they don't have enough money to pay $11 million-ish, maybe more. I mean, maybe Kirby Yates demands more based on what we've just talked about.
Yeah, I don't think 15 is a good price point there. But the Rangers are, as Chris Young said, staying open-minded. I think that means we want to sign a guy. It's just got to be the right guy. And maybe it really does become a bullpen by committee. Maybe they can sign one of the remaining very good setup men out there. So we'll see. But it just, as we've talked about, it just feels like that's, you do all this work, maybe not at the Dodgers level, but you do all this work.
Yeah, a lot, $100 million.
Why leave yourself vulnerable, exposed or vulnerable in one spot? And so I think they should get in there and get it done. Again, you never know about the possibility of a trade. I think that's always a possibility. You just don't know who. That's the one thing. It's like, well, who has extra relievers? Well, nobody. All right, who's rebuilding? Okay, these teams. Do they have a closer? Yes, the Cardinals have a closer. But I also read that not that long ago that they're not shopping them anymore. So I don't know what's going to unfold there, but we agree, and most people agree, that the Rangers need a closer.
Yeah, it would be awfully nice to have the opportunity to get one, now the name of, because there is a long list of starting pitchers that are, in the hunt here to be Rangers regulars. Chris Young said the expectation for, Jack Leiter and Kamar Rocker is to both be contributors on the major league team this year. Well, man, we're getting a long list of guys who are then, starting pitchers, among them John Gray. The name comes up again. Maybe they make a trade, utilizing John, right? They trade John. Who knows what they get back? But the one thing is they get $14 million off of the books, where they would be able to then possibly use it to sign a closer.
Yeah, but you need to leave a little cushion for the deadline. It's not just at the start of the year where the CBT applies. It applies throughout the entirety of the season. They just don't have the depth the starting depth to make John Gray a closer. They don't, they need to have Emiliano Teodo continue as a starter. Mark Church doesn't have the experience yet to be a closer, though he has the stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It just seems like, I know value is important and you want to make sure you're getting the right bang for your buck, but man, sometimes you just got to overpay,
Yes.
And they did that with Darvish, obviously turned down on the posting fee, 15 years ago. They might have overpaid on Beltre at the time. I know a lot of people thought they overpaid. Bud Selig chastised Rangers ownership at an owners meeting for overpaying on Beltre. That turned out pretty good, but at some point you got to spend the money.
Yep. And hopefully they'll have the money to spend, at least, and ideally for their own purposes, stay within the realm and the range of that CBT. More coming up as the Hall of Fame ballots will be finalized tomorrow. You'll see that tomorrow on MLB Network, I think at 5 o'clock our time. But we've got a few Hall of Fame ballot to talk about. Guys who are close to us, like Jeff. He's got a ballot, and we're going to see what he did with his, what our old friend T.R. Sullivan did with his, and we'll talk all of things about the Hall of Fame ballot that's coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
I don't know about you, John, but during our little taste of winter here, I do not want to go out and go down a river or hunt or fish or golf.
No.
But I know I'm going to. I know that in a few months, that's going to be possible, and I'm going to want to have a Rugged Road cooler with me. Rugged Road coolers, they're built to last, durable, lightweight. That's the key for me. Lightweight. They float. That's a key for a lot of people, and they float upright, so they don't tip over and float, and all your stuff falls out and goes down the river with it. So I can't imagine a better gift for somebody, like Father's Day gift,
Sure,
Valentine's Day gift, ladies, for the husbands. You know, my wife would probably want one for Valentine's Day. She'd probably enjoy the hell out of it. So, anyway, lots of opportunities. But the big thing is get one. Go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use the code DLLS for 10% off.
Yeah, I think it's a really good deal. Look, we had I introduced more people in the family to FOCO this weekend, and we've got big Bills family that are big Bills fans in the family, including my son. So they were online actually looking at the Bills overalls. And sadly, and I told them that I had told you that I would be wearing the Lions overalls if the Lions made the Super Bowl. Speaking of wah-wah, man, 5 turnovers. I'm sad about it. But that said, there's always next year, as they say. And FOCO's great. These friends, family were navigating the site. Look at this. Look at this. There's so much on there. So feel free to do that yourself. Go to FOCO.com. You'll be surprised at all the different options that they have. These guys bought something for the dog off of FOCO. You can get knickknacks. You can get things for yourself, wearables. I mean, you support your team by going to FOCO and showing your true colors. DLLS is the code to get 10% off.
John, before we go any further, Saturday, Henry had a basketball game. And at the place where he plays, they have those claw machine things.
Yep.
Those are just absolute money grabs.
Yep.
Well, my daughter's addicted. And so she went over there and she came running back and she was fired up. She had won something.
Wow.
She had won a keychain, Detroit Lions keychain.
Man.
Yeah. And so I was like, really? Do you want it? She's like, because I've got a couple Lions fans who I'm friends with, Brian Estridge being one.
Yeah.
And I said, and John, who I do the podcast with. And she's like, yeah, you can have it. So John, to perhaps drown your sorrows in, you now have a Lions keychain.
I love this. And please tell Molly thank you.
I will.
I appreciate
was very
that.
excited.
That's very kind of her to give me a Lions. I wish so bad that I was wearing it as an earring on Super Bowl Sunday, right? But anyway, that was a sad evening on Saturday. But, you know, what the heck, on we go. And at least the Bills, for my Bills family members, the Bills were victorious in a pretty exciting game last night. So we'll get to the NFC and AFC championship games next week. Tomorrow, we get to the Hall of Fame ballot. Basically, we see how everybody voted and see things like if Ichiro will be a unanimous selection, if Ian Kinsler will stay on the ballot and get the necessary 5% to at least stay on the ballot. We're pretty sure Kins won't be a Hall of Famer.
There's a chance, yeah.
But we'd sure love it if he was. We'd sure love it if he was.
You know, just a little background on the ballot. You get I think there were 20-something guys on it this year. Voters who've been in the Baseball Writers Association for 10 years get a vote. That's how you get to vote.
So what year did you get on the? Did you get your first
My first
ballot?
year was Pudge's first.
Okay, so what year did you get your ballot?
17.
17.
Yeah.
So and it's a big day, you know. In the article that you posted or published from TR, like 1998 was my first year that I got the ballot. Like it's a pretty cool deal for a writer.
Yeah, he did. He mentioned in the story at alldls.com today, free by the way, because it's important to be transparent about who you voted for. He said, his first ballot, Nolan Ryan was on it.
Pretty easy selection there.
Yeah. And then on his 27th ballot, he did vote for Ian Kinsler, and as did I. I don't know if the Prophet wants to show my ballot. Maybe hard to read, but there it is in all of its beauty. And I've kind of TR. He just votes for the guys who are he likes. but also guys who we think are good players regardless of
off the field
stuff.
Yep.
So TR voted for Alex Rodriguez, and TR voted for Omar Vizquel, even though Vizquel has had some trouble off the field with accusations of domestic abuse, and then A-Rod, of course, the steroid stuff, the confirmed steroid tests that he failed. I do not vote for people who failed steroid tests. I did vote for Barry Bonds, who never failed a test.
Right.
You know, baseball finally drew a line in the sand. They profited off of guys like Bonds and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa for so many years. Their reputation's tainted, but they weren't tainted by a failed test because MLB didn't test for it. Now that they do test for it, you fail a test, sorry, you don't get my vote. But I kind of looked at it differently this year, voting overall, in that guys like Kinsler and Felix Hernandez, while the totality of their career might not have been Hall of Fame worthy, they had long stretches in their career in which they were among the best at their positions in the game. You know, just go back and do the homework yourself. You know, Felix Hernandez, the Mariners pitcher, he won the Cy Young in 2010. From 10 years, from 07 to 16, he was the second best pitcher in baseball behind Clayton Kershaw. All right, Ian Kinsler, over the same time span, was, you could make an argument, as good or better than Chase Utley, who was on the ballot and also received my vote for the first time. So it's you know, and the reason I voted for, let's say, Kinsler and Hernandez over Andy Pettitte and Dustin Pedroia is because those guys are going to get 5%.
Yep.
And Kinsler and Hernandez aren't. And if you have 5%, you stay on for another year. And I think that as the game of baseball changes, you know, 5 and 6 man rotations, you're never going to have a 300 game winner again, or very unlikely.
Yeah.
You know, how many 300 hitters were there last year? 7, 8,
something like that. Yeah.
One or two 200 hit seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, 3,000 hits is going to be hard to get. So as the game changes, I think writers need to take the responsibility of changing their criteria for what a great player is.
I agree with that. Now, your thought on Pedroia and Pettitte is just because of the East Coast the prevalence of the voters on that eastern seaboard.
Well, yeah, I mean they do. They probably, you know, Pedroia's was cut short of injuries, or was cut short by injuries, but and I, you know, he and Utley and Kinsler are all in that group of guys. Yeah. But yeah, he's going to get votes because he won an MVP.
He did,
you know, in 2008, and you know, he's on the Red Sox, won World Series, might have won 2 with the Red Sox. You know, so he's going to have that behind him, and then you know, Pettitte, who was fantastic in the postseason, also never failed a drug test, but did admit to it. So I don't know if that tarnishes him a little bit. But you know, Ken Rosenthal wrote this. Why did he vote for CC Sabathia, not Andy Pettitte? Because they're kind of similar. But Sabathia's on the ballot for the first time. 251 career wins. Is that the new 300? Is 250 the new 300?
Maybe. Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, he pitched for 18 years. He won a Cy Young. But these guys are making so much money that they don't need to play very long.
No.
You know, and so careers are going to get shorter. It's just everything seems to be changing. And you know, Jacob deGrom is going to be the ultimate test. You know, if he finishes the rest of his career healthy, maybe he picks up another Cy Young, maybe he doesn't, you know, but you know, he might not have 150 wins.
Right.
You know,
but 2 or 3 Cy Youngs.
So is he a Hall of Famer? And you know, because he missed so much time with and Clayton Kershaw. Of course, Clayton Kershaw is going to be in the Hall of Fame, right?
Think, yeah.
Right. But how many career wins does he have? I think 225, somewhere in that ballpark.
So 250. He's probably not getting
212 career wins.
Yeah, he's not getting to 250.
He has a 250 career RA. He'll probably get to 3,000 strikeouts because he's at 29.68 right now. It's just changing, guys. And so I think that I'm starting to change how I look at these guys, and maybe I'll say, nah, that's no good. And next year I'll just vote for a few guys. But
yeah,
I just think that it's worth considering. And if it's worth considering down the road, if it's suddenly there's a giant change in thinking 8 years down the road, well, maybe, Ian Kinsler and Felix Hernandez deserve to be in that conversation by staying on the ballot.
Right.
I don't know.
And
I think they're Hall of Famers? No.
No.
But
Okay.
as the thinking changes and becomes more prevalent that, hey, it's about how great these guys were for a certain part of their career. Forget the end when they were hanging on and stunk, or the beginning when they're rookies and were up and down. Forget about that. For 10 years, these guys were great players.
Yep.
So does that mean you're in the Hall of Fame? Maybe. I don't know. But
maybe
see.
in the new normal, yeah. And maybe it should, right? I mean, you think about Felix Hernandez and all the times we saw him pitch against the Rangers. I guarantee you there was 2 or 3 years there I thought, no doubt this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, right? He pitched like a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and but there were if you look at his career numbers against the Rangers, they're pretty pedestrian because if you're in the same division and you see the same teams over and over again, you're not gonna fare very well. And David Murphy, for instance, raked against Felix Hernandez.
Yeah, absolutely
did. So it's but this is why you debate it. Okay, did I say my whole ballot? I don't know. Bobby Abreu, who I voted for the first time. You look at his career numbers and they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
They add up, especially like in the doubles and steals and seasons with certain numbers of doubles and steals. You're talking about only a select few guys who've done what he did.
How many times has he been on the ballot?
I think he started in 19. He retired in 14. 14 was his last season. So 18 or 19.
Yeah. Wow.
So Bobby Abreu, Felix Hernandez, Andrew Jones, who, again, for 10 years, he won 10 Gold Gloves. So maybe it's shorter than 10 years. He was unbelievable.
He was
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And he had those great pitching staffs on those Braves teams. But I guarantee you that every one of those pitchers thinks he should be in the Hall of Fame because he caught everything. And he played so shallow. That was the other thing. He was great going back, but nothing fell in front of him. Like I said, Ian Kinsler, Francisco Rodriguez, the Angels closer.
K-Rod.
Jimmy Rollins, CC Sabathia, Ichiro, Chase Utley, and Billy Wagner, who I believe is in his final year on the ballot. Just missed last year. I expect him to get in this year. Closer is very underrepresented in the Hall of Fame. He's no Mariano Rivera, but is he better than Goose Gossage? Is he better than Trevor Hoffman? Probably not Hoffman, but probably Gossage. Bruce Sutter and Lee Smith. I would take Billy Wagner. So that was my ballot. Abreu, Hernandez, Jones, Kinsler, Francisco Rodriguez, Rollins, Sabathia, Ichiro, Utley, Wagner. 10 guys. That's our limit, and I voted for 10.
Yep. Well, I think it's fantastic. I wonder if Ichiro there's only been one player ever. Babe Ruth was not a unanimous Hall of Famer.
Right.
Ty Cobb, or any of these guys. No,
right.
I mean, that first class, nobody in that very first class was unanimous. The only unanimous Hall of Famer ever is Mariano Rivera. But does Ichiro become one?
I mean, there's what's the knock against him? That he didn't hit for power? I mean, is that the knock against him? That he retired and then went back and played for another year?
Yeah.
He kind of bounced around a little bit at the end of his career.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's real no reason to do it, to not vote for him. But, and the electorate, the pool of voters is also getting younger and changing.
Yes.
We're all the old crotchety guys who wouldn't vote are I'm sorry to say, dying off.
Yeah.
and the rules have been adjusted for voting eligibility. If you retire and you're no longer an active rider, you only have 5 years after you retire to continue to vote. So those things are changing as well. I did want to go over TR's ballot real quick. The three middle infielders, Kinsler, Vizquel, and Alex Rodriguez. And then he went on to Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, Carlos Beltran, who's been sacked by the Astros cheating scandal, Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, and Felix Hernandez.
Fantastic.
So, there you go. There are ballots, and we'll see how they shake out tomorrow.
Yeah. And there's that bell, which means it's time for us to break away for just a moment. We've got more to talk about, a lot really to get to in the cleanup segment, which is coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first, diehards, because I'm not wearing any merch today. Jeff will get to the merch.
I have an
in a
undershirt
minute.
on.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah, but the diehard thing is great. So many reasons to do it. You got free stuff from Jeff today, so count your blessings there. But there's a lot written by him and others behind the paywall. So become a diehard, and you won't have to worry about anything behind the paywall. And then the other thing is 20% off of our events. And there's a big event coming up. It's a watch party at Cosm with our Mavs crew. And right now I'm seeing there are only 13 tickets left. For that event. 13 tickets left. It's against the game is going to be against the Celtics, and it's on the 6th of February. And if you want to go to Cosm and watch it, you need to do that and get 20% off that ticket. Only 9. Oh, Skipper Ben out here telling us there's only 9 left. So hurry up, buy a ticket, become a diehard so you can get it at 20% off.
Yeah, and the link, as the prophet just said, is in the description of the show, so be sure to check that out. February 6th, I'll still be in town, so maybe I'll slide up there and see if I can wiggle my way in.
Yeah,
I am wearing merch, as I do pretty much every day. I'm wearing that red shirt right there on your screen, For the Love of Texas shirt, the one I have 2 of because my wife and I miscommunicated, but that's fine because I love them. Again, these shirts are so comfortable. And they're stylish. The material's great. They don't, they're $34.99. If you're a diehard, you get 20% off, and you get a free one.
Sure.
So go on and get one. Sweatshirts, hoodies, perfect for days like today. And then hats are coming. Hats are coming, John. So store.allcitynetwork.com. Get your merch. Represent the fastest growing and the best sports network in DFW.
Yep. We're the one, and we're glad to be here, and we're glad you are here today with us. We always appreciate chatting along with you, and so stay with us, hang with us, chat with us, and we'll continue to talk Rangers and all things sports, which is really cool. That Cosm is an awesome place, so you want to definitely check that thing out. So let's get to our cleanup segment, and the Sasaki saga is over. Not even sure we've mentioned this yet. It was such a busy weekend, but the Dodgers, as was expected, landed Roki Sasaki. I do feel a little bit bad. It's like the Blue Jays kind of had the rug pulled out from under them, it seems. I mean, they were trading players and getting international money from the Guardians on the last day before, on Friday, basically during the show, and later on Friday, it came the announcement that he was going to sign with the Dodgers. And there was a lot of talk that this was preordained and that there was never any real need to do a search. We asked Chris Young about that this weekend. He doesn't think it was. He trusts Joel Wolf, and I trust CY, and I trust that the process was legit.
Yeah, of course there are going to be rumors, but who's starting these rumors?
Right.
Guys in the basement,
Yeah.
It did seem kind of predetermined. Just with the money that they gave to Ohtani, the fact that they have Yamamoto. But it turns out, I think a lot of clubs were given false hope by what Joel Wolf said at the winter meetings that, he might be better off in a small market. He doesn't necessarily need to have a Japanese teammate. And I guess you can trust an agent as far as you can throw him because he's just trying to gin up, support and get as much money for his player as he can. Of course, in this situation, it's not much upfront money. The Dodgers, I think, ended up paying him $6.5 million, which is more than they had in their international pool, so they had to trade to acquire some. And then, unless they successfully convinced their guys that they had committed in Latin America to step back and just hold on for another year, they're going to lose some international prospects. And but the thing is, you do that to one class, it's like this domino effect. They already have commitments for the next international signing class and the one after that.
Right.
So they may have to cut bait here and just be happy, as they should be, with the guy who's going to enter now that he's signed a major league contract. He is the number one prospect in baseball.
Yep.
But yeah, it's so there's still some chances for the Rangers to capitalize here. If the Dodgers do end up not signing guys, you could see them swoop in and get a guy or two. I mean, they have money to do it, and I'm sure these kids are going to be excited to get going after seeing their futures kind of have the rug pulled out from under them. So we'll see what happens in the next week or so. It could happen. Maybe it gets stretched out a little bit more, but believe me, every scout down there knows who the Dodgers have signed, or have agreements with. They don't need to do a bunch of evaluation.
No,
it's not starting from scratch and holding trials. They've seen these guys enough.
Oh, wow, he's available now. They know who he is.
Exactly.
One guy that the Dodgers have signed, interestingly enough, for the first time ever, a player from South Sudan has signed, and he signed with the Rangers. With the Dodgers.
Well, that's interesting.
And it's probably one of the $10,000 guys, right?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
But it's a new market, right? We're opening a new market over in Africa, where obviously baseball is obviously being played at some level if the Dodgers had enough interest in order to sign a guy like this. So it's going to be very interesting. The global nature of the game gets bigger and bigger every year. And that is not lost on us on this Martin Luther King Day, where one of the efforts in America is to make sure that more of the inner city young men and women, for that matter, have an opportunity to learn and play this game. It's one of the reasons that MLB has put these MLB youth academies like they have in East Dallas all over metropolitan areas and all over cities, big cities in the United States. So I love what they've done with this camp that Hunter Green was a part of the very first one. So there's a camp where the best prospects that are African-American all go to a camp and they play it in a tournament. And Hunter Green there on the left, Cincinnati Reds, hosts them all at his house. And they all come, and Green's a graduate of the very first class of this, and you just see the joy. And he brought several of his major league friends over to his house to hang out with and meet these guys, all of whom are prospects. Now, whether or not they're going to make it to Hunter Green's level and have a house like Hunter Green has, where he's showing them their gym, his personal private gym, and, they're all playing video games and hanging out and having fun. They can all only perhaps dream of that level of success, but it's a beacon, right? It's a light, and it's an opportunity.
Well, all of these select sports are expensive. We are in the midst of learning that. Dana Larson, her daughters play volleyball very competitively, and they're traveling all over the country, and it's crazy the money you can spend here, and you hope you're making an investment in their future by helping them earn a scholarship. Like Dana's oldest daughter's going to Pepperdine to play volleyball. That's pretty special.
And Dana's pretty excited, needless to say. She gets to visit.
Right, exactly. So, but that's one of the problems. And Ron Washington pointed this out to me years ago, because he'll help out at the New Orleans Urban Youth Academy. It's too expensive in a lot of cases for a lot of people, especially in the inner cities. But Evan Carter, for instance, who lives in East Tennessee, his parents didn't see the logic in it. In spending that kind of money. He went to a few, but he was not on the circuit, and that's probably part of the reason why the Rangers were able to get him, because they were doing their diligence. They knew him. Danny Clark, the former pitching coordinator who's still with the organization, knew the family, and so scout. The Rangers had a scout go out there, and they fell in love with him. And hey, the rest is history. But the black kids who and the black players who helped build this game, starting with Jackie Robinson in '48, but all of the ones that followed so quickly. Larry Doby the same year in the American League, and then Willie Mays. And gosh, I don't want to leave anybody out, but baseball was a very
Hank Aaron,
of course, baseball is an incredibly diverse sport, really, until the last 15 to 20 years, the numbers have just started to drop off. And so that's a big area that the Rangers want to work, or the Rangers want to work on, but Major League Baseball wants to work on. The Rangers have their own academy here just west of our studio in West Dallas. And, these kids get college opportunities, but they also have to, mind their P's and Q's and be good citizens and do good in school. It's a great program. You hope that it produces more guys like Hunter Green, though. I don't know if there are any 100-mile-per-hour fastballs out there in those leagues, but if there are, they're going to get found. But it's just giving the access. I think that's the first thing. You start with the access. And another thing Wash used to point out to me, it's hard to find 9 guys.
Yes.
And to go find a field.
Yep.
You can find 5 guys and go play basketball pretty easily.
Yep. You can play with 3
and you just
pretty easily.
You just need a ball.
Yeah.
A ball and a rim, and you're set.
Yeah, and you can do 3-on-3. You can do 2-on-2.
You don't need 9 gloves, 9 bats.
Right.
Multiple baseballs.
Really,
catcher's gear.
And you need 18.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to play a full baseball game, you really need 18. So it does make it much more. And even with 3, and I remember doing this as a kid, we'd have 6 people, so we'd do 3 on a team, and you got a pitcher, an outfielder, and a catcher, and you're like, oh man, you can't play that way.
No, but Wash, he's not afraid of his upbringing. He grew up in the projects in New Orleans, and he remembers playing basketball, but baseball was always his thing. He played football. He was a quarterback in high school, a little guy, but baseball is always going to be his thing, and it's just finding that opportunity, falling in love with the game like so many great players in baseball history did. So that's the project. It's an uphill battle. It's tough. But anyway, good for Hunter Green. Yeah,
on this day of all days, we're awfully glad that there's an opportunity to celebrate. And really, again, it's all part of the legacy and the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that is allowing so many of these things to happen and to flourish. Now, big news for the Blue Jays. God bless them. They finally signed somebody, Jeff. They signed Anthony Santander to a 5-year deal. I haven't seen anything yet on the financials.
I think it's $5.90.
$5.90, is it?
He didn't get nearly what I think a lot of people thought he would get.
Yeah, okay.
For a guy who hit 40 homers last season.
Yeah.
Switch hitting outfielder. Obviously, he's going to know the division well, coming from the Orioles. So the Orioles can say that they got a guy, and maybe he becomes the big guy if Vlad leaves next offseason. Still, the Pete Alonso thing's kind of died down. You would think, though, if they only are spending $18 million a year on Santander, then they could have money to sign Alonso.
Sure.
They're probably in the mix for. I think somebody pointed out they're in the mix for Estevez, the closer. It's just, good job, Blue Jays. Give yourselves a pat on the back after all these losses you've suffered.
Yeah, they were in on Soto, big time, or thought they were. Yeah. Obviously, they were very close to signing Sasaki, which, again, that wasn't going to be a big price tag. But the Soto price tag was huge, and they knew it, and they were ready to spend it, which indicates there's money there.
Absolutely.
And it maybe indicates, you'd hope for that organization, that they're ready to sign, even though they agreed, the arbitration-wise, with Vlad Jr. Maybe they can get him a long-term deal going here and clear that up.
Yeah, knock his socks off. But he's got a test free agency.
He probably does. They probably won't have the opportunity.
Well, I don't know. He knows. He's been there. He's brought up by him. It's not like they just got him last year.
Yeah.
He knows what he would be getting into. But yeah, that Rogers Communication money, it's big money back there, and back in that club.
Yep. So anyway, that's going to do it for a holiday edition of our program. Don't forget the Mavericks are going to be back on the air here pretty quick. I hope you saw their pregame show, but the Mavs have a postgame show coming up because, of course, the Mavs are playing Memphis on this Martin Luther King Day.
Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was, So anyway, they're playing Charlotte on this Martin Luther King Day, and they'll come back and tell you exactly what happened in that game and hang out with us, all of us here at DLLS all day long. because we love being here and talking sports and having fun with you. That's going to do it for this edition, though. We'll see you again tomorrow with another edition at noon of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.